Hi, this is Rena from Quilt Israel, and it's time again for our quilt along. And this time our block is called the Hope of Hartford. This block uses both split quarter square triangles and partial seams. I hope you enjoy. So here we are at the cutting board, ready to cut our fabric. So I've gotten a little bit of a head start. For this block we need 4 2.5 by 5.5 inch strips. We need one square that's 6 1/4 inches. We also need, for the center, is a 2.5 inch square. For the main triangles, we need 2 6 inch squares. And for the secondary triangles, like the smaller triangles, we need one 6 1/4 inch square. We're going to be making split quarter square triangles. So the thing about quarter square triangles is, in theory, you can do them 2 at a time. If you do them 2 at a time, you'll get a mirror image of the colors that you're using. So since in this block we need the colors to be going all in the same direction, we're going to have to actually do them 1 at a time. We're going to be working right now on the 4 rectangle blocks that circle the little center block right here. To make our split quarter square triangles, what we need to do is we're going to take these 2 squares, which are 6 1/4 inches, and what we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating 4 triangles out of each. So to do that, I'm going to cut corner to corner each direction. If you have a rotating mat, this is a great place to use a rotating mat. Another way to do it is work at a corner of a table so that you don't have to pick up the block and you can just rotate your ruler instead. So I'm going to start from one corner to the other corner. Make one slice. Carefully lift so it doesn't shift. Go from the other corner. And I am going to make another slice. Okay, so here I have, these are for the smaller triangles. So we'll put those on the side, and I'll do the same thing with the other set of smaller triangles. If you want to be super quick, you can layer them, and then you can actually take them in pairs straight to the cutting board. I'm using solids, but if you're doing it with fabric that actually has a side, then what you're going to want to do is put those with the pretty side facing each other. Okay, so here I have my 4 and 4. We're going to need one of each of these triangles for each block, for each of the mini blocks, the mini rectangle blocks that we're going to make. For the main larger triangle, what we need to do is cut in half, and this time I might as well layer and just do one slice. Line it up and swish. Okay, so now we have 4 of these as well. So the way we're going to be putting these together is we are going to start by sewing these together, but we're not sewing it in this direction. What we're going to be doing is we're trying to make a corner to the triangle. So we're going to be sewing in this direction. So I'm going to put them together, and I'm going to take them to the sewing machine. Here we are at the sewing machine again, and we're getting ready to sew up our triangles. You should have 4 pairs of triangles. I'm using solids, but if you happen to be using pretty fabrics, then make sure that the pretty side of the fabric are kissing each other. Sometimes you have to sew from the points, but in this case, we don't have to. We're going to be sewing on the edge of the fabric. In theory, what we could do is we could feed it in this way, but if you're dealing with points like this, sometimes they'll get gummed up in the machine. There's ways around that also to make sure it doesn't get gummed up. It's just easier to sew on the side that starts off straight. What you're going to want to do is you're going to make sure that the background fabric is the fabric on top, and whatever the secondary triangle is going to be on the bottom, so that the triangles are facing the correct direction. Okay, so now I'm going to sew a 1/4 inch seam on all 4 of these blocks. I'm just going to separate them, and I'm going to press them open. I'm going to press the dark side of the fabric. And so now I'm also going to take my other triangles here. And so what I'm going to do is I want to mark the middle point of this triangle. So the easiest way for me is just to give a little tap with the iron. And now I'm marked. I'm going to be matching these two pieces to sew them together as well. Now that I have these pieces marked, what I'm going to do is that middle spot over there, I'm going to put a pin in, just to make sure that I have enough triangle on each of the ends. It doesn't need to be exact. The idea is to make sure that everything lines up. Because it's cut on the diagonal, which is known as like a bias edge, I want to make sure not to stretch it out of shape. So if by marking it and pinning it, I'm going to have more control over how it's sewn. Now this time we're going to have to start by putting the point in the machine. And so in this kind of case, I like to use something called a leader, which is basically a small piece of fabric that I just fold in half just to get the machine started so all the threads are out of the way. Okay, so we have our first leader. I'm going to carefully sew on the dark side of the fabric. I'm going to line it up. The point is actually going after the needle. Where I'm starting is I'm starting the needle exactly where it hits the fabric. Pull out my pin, and I'm not pulling on anything because I don't want to stretch things out of shape. We have our split quarter square triangles ready to go. I'm going to separate them and I'm going to gently press them open. When I press them, I'm going to press them to the one fabric. It doesn't matter if it's the lighter fabric or the darker fabric. Let's say that I use the black here. What I want to do is I want to press to the side that has the fewer seams. So now it's time to square up our blocks. And what I'm going to do is, if you have the Form 1 triangle ruler, what you can do is you can line up the center line, and we want to finish square at 5. So we're going to go over here, and we're just going to slice and slice. I already did it, so I'm just showing you how. So that's one. And if you're using a regular ruler, the same way that you would square up a half square triangle, you can use this too. I personally like to work on the smaller angle, and so what I do is I match the 45-degree mark, and from here, from my ruler on here, and I'm matching up the 5.5 mark. One thing I like to check is that when you have the corners, they actually hit at the 5.5 mark. And then the same way, you just go and you can slice it if it's past, and then rotate it, and then do the other two sides. And what I'm checking for here is that these points are hitting the 5.5 mark, and they're hitting the 5.5 mark, and I have my 45-degree angle. Now that all 4 of our blocks are squared, we're going to pair each one with a background square. It goes on the side with the larger triangle. So here we are at the sewing machine, and we're ready to sew our background to our blocks. I'm actually going to be sewing them upside down. If I have a pointy side or a straight side, I'll always sew on the straight side as opposed to the pointy side. So I'm going to match them up on the larger side of the triangle, and I'm just going to chain piece through all 4 blocks. It's time to separate them and press them open. This has a seam as opposed to no seam. Even though this is the lighter side, I'm going to press to the light side. I'm going to press to the side that has the fewer seams. Now we build our block. So the way this block works is we're going to be going in a circle. We start with the middle, top, side, side, and final side. I'm going to start by taking one block, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to sew from the middle of the block to the end of the block. So I'm starting at the corner like I like, and I'm going to sew just a little bit, just to connect. And if you like, you can do a little bit of a back stitch to anchor it a little, just to make sure nothing's going to come out. And there. Now I'm going to finger press this just so that it's flat. But now we have this long side that we can work with. I'm going to take the next quadrant of the block, and I am going to sew from corner to corner. Finger press the next section open, and continue to the next quadrant. Finger press, and we finished, and we put the last quadrant on. So over here, when we're matching this up, if this is folding over a little, make sure to pull it out and hold it straight. You just continue sewing on the last quadrant. Okay, so now we have almost a completed block. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go back and I'm just going to finish the last seam. Fold it up, match the corners. And just sew the last seam down. And we are done. Now we're ready for a final press. The Hope of Hartford block is now done. I really love the feeling of movement around the center square. It's also a little bit off kilter, just like me. If you found this useful, please click on the like button down below. And don't forget to subscribe. To see more videos in the series, click on the playlist to my right. Alright, thank you so much.